Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk 9527. Cryptopunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of PunkCast. Today we've got Punk 7294. He's a full Atty, cigarette, earring, nerd glasses, and the super iconic purple hair. He's currently building Focus Bloc, a vintage photography NFT platform. Please welcome the Anamor to the show. Lanamor, welcome. How are you?
Hey, I'm very good, Maxwell. Thanks for having me here. Very excited to first tell you where my Twitter name comes from.
Well, why don't you break that down for us? I detect a French accent, so there must be some sort of link there.
Yeah, so I'm French, and I'm a big fan of a singer's name, Serge Gainsbourg. He was the husband of Jane Birkin. She was a model and a singer, and the Hermes Birkin bag comes from her name. And this singer, Serge Gainsbourg, in the 70s was very iconic. His couple with Jane Birkin were very iconic. And one of his most famous song name is L'Amour, which means it's a song about love, but it's sort of a toxic love, but it's with a very like French new wave vibe into it. I recommend you to listen to the song. You're gonna love it.
Is it on Spotify? I must listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're a very romantic person. Then, by the sound of that.
You know, French people, we created love somehow. You know, we pretending we are. It's.
Well, nice, man. Well, thanks so much for joining PunkCast today, and maybe you can just share a little bit more about yourself and your background, like where you're based, where you sort of grew up, and what sort of led your way into Web3.
Yeah, grew up in France, moved to Canada for university, where I went to Montreal, and then I was 4 years there, but in the middle, I did an exchange. Went to Seoul in South Korea for almost a year, then came back to Montreal for a year, and then moved to London almost 10 years ago, and been working as an investment banker, M&A banker, then worked for the family office of a Middle East billionaire. And then I've been working for this private investment fund for 4 years. But regarding, I've been into crypto since early 2017 and also been into contemporary art for a while now. So for me, it was really the best of both worlds. Like NFT really was a game changer almost a life changer, because it's being into crypto and into contemporary art. It was fascinating when I jumped into the space when I started Collect in 21. I was really fascinated by the community aspect of it and how easy you could reach out to random people.
Maybe even take us back a little bit further into your background. So it sounded like you traveled quite a fair bit, like from Canada and Seoul of all places. Like, how did you get into Seoul of all places in the world?
So, I had the option to do an exchange. As an exchange student, I really apply mostly to Asia. I never lived there before. And my favorite was South Korea, because at the time I was watching a lot of Korean movies, was a big fan of Park Chan-wook. And when I was accepted in Seoul, I was really happy. I was fascinated by the Korean culture at the time. It was a new developed country. There are only two, we call them economic miracles in the world, countries that managed to become developed countries in less than 50 years. And one of them is Israel, and the other one is South Korea. So I was fascinated by the people, like what they managed to achieve in just 50 years, starting from zero, and also by their culture. The Korean cinema really fascinated me at the time, and still a very good cinema, doing very well, flourishing. So yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the Korean soap operas it's starting to take off on Netflix, and everywhere you look feels like there's a Korean influence everywhere, right? Like from K-pop to music and Squid Game and everything else. So
they're really creative, really creative people. They're very sophisticated the way they want to showcase culture and how they're influenced is very hard to understand how they're influenced because they really have their own thing. So fascinating.
So what were you studying as well? Like, were you more finance subjects, or is it more art?
Yeah, economics and mathematics.
I see. So you're a gigabrain as well, which is pretty interesting.
I used to play chess a lot. I was even a chess teacher when I was in Canada, and I've always been into analyzing and thinking. And I had my poker phase as well, where I played poker a lot. But really, chess. I got back into the game during COVID, so because I had time to study the game again. And then chess for me is one of the most important thing in my life.
Never really gotten into chess, but I know, like, a lot of people find a lot of life learnings out of chess. Like, are you finding that as well?
So I started when I was 5. So for me, it sort of became natural. But when I look back, so as a chess teacher, I could take a step back and see what it would bring to these kids, and you really teach you how to structure your thinking, how to just focus and on one thing, and it's amazing for like being able to visualize things in your head and in the space, recognize some patterns quickly. Problem solving as well is incredible. It just make you like focus on one thing, and then some when you do official games, it's time limited as well, so you also have to perform under timing and pressure, and you have to study ahead of your tournaments. You have to study and study, and the game is endless. So it's this, it gives you the culture of like,
Absolutely.
it teaches you how to study as well.
Absolutely. And so what sort of inspired you to study finance of all the things you could have studied back then?
I was really fascinated by the macro, micro economic agents and how they would like. So I was fascinated that you could materialize and if you had like a right thesis about, let's say, an industry, you could bet like the stock market. You could like, it really fascinated me that if you were right about a trend, you could materialize that and you could make a bet on buying a stock, or if you were right about the monetary policy of a country, you could turn that into money just by making a macro bet. So I read all those books about, like, I think it was called Market Wizard, the first one of the series. And just it's not really about the money. It's just about being right, having convictions, and finding an asymmetric bet where the upside is much bigger than the downside. And then so I did a lot of economics, econometrics, as well as stochastic calculus during my master degree. So I really like I like statistics a lot as well.
Yeah. The quantitative sort of rigor behind it, which is sort of fascinating. And then when you moved into investment banking, like what part of investment banking were you in? Were you more on the trading side? You said M&A, right? Actually.
But yeah, it was so very different from what I truly liked. But so it was merger and acquisitions. I was very, very, for me, it was really key. And I really wanted to learn about corporate finance and at a high level, like working, basically dealing with the top management of big listed company, disrupting some corporate deals are completely disruptive to an industry. So just like becoming an expert of an industry, and learning a lot. I mean, you learn about everything. You learn about legal, accounting. You go through a lot of commercial due diligence, financial due diligence. You learn about the market. You learn about how to work very hard and for very long. You get a lot of hard skills. You learn very hard skills. You learn to work under a lot of pressure and until very late, and repeat and structure your work, and sometimes it's too much. Sometimes they work you so hard that but then you need to have this survival aspect, and understand that it's all about surviving sometimes when you work 100 hours a week for 6 weeks in a row.
Absolutely. I'm sure that would have been character building for you in many ways. And then so you went through studying math, finance, have a passion for chess, went through investment banking. What point did you start getting interested in crypto? I think you said you were quite early. Like, was you still working in banking at the time?
So when I really got interested and I read about it a lot was in South Korea. It was 2011. I was reading an article because some of the students there, they were into it, but I didn't buy. it was very complicated with like the Canadian or the French banks at the time. So I tried a couple of times, didn't work. We tried 2 years later with my dad, and the banks wouldn't let us buy. So it's in 2017 when I started, and I started with Ethereum actually. Early 2017, I was reading about the Ethereum alliances with all the banks. I started to understand what a smart contract was, and I was fascinated about how it could really change and create an ecosystem that would just be more than just a mean of payment. That I mean, I don't know if you were around when Ethereum ICO happened, and
No, I was daydreaming. I should have been paying a little bit more attention.
but yeah, at the time, I remember it was wow. So a lot of research paper, even from investment funds about it, even from the banks, even from the tech industry was it was really a game changer. And because also I felt like I missed the Bitcoin boat, I felt like I wanted to jump into Ethereum wagon, and then the 2017 was a very good year for crypto in general.
What did you buy Ethereum at?
I bought at 40, 80, 200, 800, 600.
And then so you bought Ethereum early days, and then what was your transition into NFTs? Like, what was your first NFT basically?
So basically, I had Ethereum. Then things from September. So Ethereum was doing very well, but from September 2017, there was a big altcoin season. So I traded everything: XLM, Ripple, Iota. Uh, what was big at the time? Every like DigiCoin, a lot of shit stuff as well. But Siacoin, and then at the end of this run, I just Vcoin as well. And at the end of this coin, I just swapped everything into Ethereum. And then it went down and down and down and crashed, and I did really looked at it. It was on like different MyEther wallets. It was called MyEther wallet at the time. There was MetaMask was the very beginning of MetaMask, very early days. And this Ethereum, they just slept for. I used a chunk of it to like just for my travels and expenses. I was using like a debit card service in the UK that will allow you to swap crypto into fiat and just pay like this. So I spent some ETH on travels, but I kept most of them. And then late 2020, I started looking into crypto again, and then 21 it pumped again even more, and then that's when I started to get interested into NFT because crypto were pumping, but at the same time my my friends are art dealers or work for galleries or have their galleries or collect art, were like talking about NFT. People working for Christie's, Sotheby's, they were talking about NFT, and I was like, "Wow, those people they have no idea what crypto is, but still there." So it really made me think that something was happening there, and it could touch different pocket of capital. So I didn't buy straight. I played with my ETH, and then it's in June 21 that I really got into NFT.
Nice. And do you remember what your first NFT was?
It was I don't know, it's Pudgy Penguin or Bored Ape. I'm not sure. One or the other.
Those are pretty good entries. I mean, they're still around today, so pretty good choice.
So I miss the Bored Ape mint. I have a good friend in London who minted a lot. Still have most of them. So I actually bought a few, sold, and kept two that I've put for sale in a gallery in Mayfair in London. Sold one of the two, then sold again, and didn't really resonate with me well. I was part of there was a big Sotheby's auction, Bored Ape Sotheby's auction. I was part. There was a big pump happening during this, so I sold after that. I got the mutant airdropped. That was fun. But then I wasn't. I found out about art blogs and some gen art artists and was super rare and like, so I was more interested in that. So I sold PFP. I had a lot of fun with Cryptods. It was a big pump, massive pump, like from zero. It was crazy, like 0.5 ETH all the way to 15 with ETH.
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. Yeah.
Then I was, and I'm still quite involved in Crypto DOPP. So it was October 21. I was Crypto DOPP was amazing as well. And then I just focused on more serious stuff.
Just a side question as well. I did ape some crypto dick butts, but admittedly, it was just more for trading. I never really got into the community there. Are you in the community at the moment still, or do you know what it's about?
Yeah, so I'm in a Telegram group. We're like just 69 people. There is Jimony, Farok, Diz, Punk 6529, Batsupium, Meltem, Collector.
Sajito.
Sergito is also there. You're right. Yeah, it's an amazing community. To be fair, people that like that have been like that are experienced, been in the space for a while. That are like have a good ethos. Smart people, also driven, and that like crypto NFT, like same good vibe, to be a very good vibe. And it's a lot of it was just a way. This collection at the end of the day is just a way to make fun of, like, not to make fun, but just to laugh about the PFP trend. It's just a meme, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, just a meme.
it's nothing serious. That's what I like the meme, and I like also that people don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. And Baz is in there too, right? I think Baz had a huge bag back in the day.
Yeah. I think he's in the top holders.
Yeah, I need to get back in because I think I'm getting a little bit of FOMO. Everybody keeps talking about the Crypto Dick Butts Ball in New York City is like one of the best events to go to. I must get a lot of that.
Yeah. They did something called the Dig Banya last week. I couldn't make it to New York.
And you said that you had a bit of a traditional art collection as well. Like, what was your journey into art, like in general?
I've just been following and listening to my contemporary art collector friends that are, they have just been following them. Sometimes going to Basel, Miami, Basel, Freeze in London, just following them, going to some auctions, and whenever there would be like some interesting, not cheap entry level prices, not too expensive, I would give it a try. I would just trust them.
More from an investment perspective, or
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, the art world is like super fascinating for me. Like, I mean, I can't fully wrap my head around it, but I recently went to Art Basel here in Hong Kong, probably about a month ago. And I caught up with a friend who's a reasonably big collector out of China, but he was telling me that you do know that Art Basel is a place where they dump inventory they can't sell, right? And I had no idea because he sort of said, like, all the galleries from around the world, they showcase each artist on the primary in their own galleries, like Pace Gallery and all those other bits and pieces. And some of those pieces are unsold. And so they go on global tours like Basel to basically offload some of the inventory. And he's sort of saying that, you can still pick up some good stuff, but it's almost like all the good stuff has almost been taken before it gets to Basel. And then when you get into Basel as well, like the first week, it's basically locked away for VIP, and the VVIP get like a book ahead of the actual date, so they can actually go through the book and highlight which pieces they like and scoop them up before the rest. So it feels like it's like the whitelist, the whitelist before the real world whitelist.
Yeah, the white comes from there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just super fascinating too, right? And I think he's probably a little bit more scared about, selling a piece on the secondary just because he doesn't want to ruin a relationship with the gallery.
No, yeah, they hate flippers over there.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's another world, right? So super fascinating. But you can sort of definitely see a lot of corollaries NFTs for sure.
Oh, there is, and also a lot of traditional art money. It's been flowing a bit into NFT, but it's gonna flow even more into it.
Do you think? Because like I don't know, man. Like right now, NFTs are going through the shitter, and then I mean, the vibe at Art Basel was if you walked up to somebody and said that you were in NFTs, they would just like turn the shoulder on you. But like last year or 2 years ago, you'd turn up and everyone's trying to sell. Tradition trade art galleries are trying to sell NFTs, but now they're going back to their old ways. A little bit snobbish, right? Right now, I think. But hopefully the tides will change.
Yeah, no, so you also into it, I guess.
Not really, not really. I mean, I get invited to a few of these events, and I just tag along. But I just sort of feel like, I mean, I don't have an eye for art, So I think I'm relying on other people and mostly the story behind it to actually for something to really resonate with me. And that, and I probably don't have enough of my bags to throw at some of these pieces because some of them are super expensive, right? So and obviously in Hong Kong I've got no place to actually store any of this stuff either, so hasn't really been a place for me. But I can definitely appreciate some of the work that comes out of it.
So, are you also into Gen art, or just into do you collect some one to ones, or do you?
Yeah, no, not so much one to ones. I do love Gen Art. It's just yeah, something that sort of appeals to me aesthetically and things that I think the whole mechanic behind Gen Art feels like a nice fit for NFTs. The underlying technology, the smart contracts and algorithms, they all combine together and it just works that sort of magic. And I think is a really nice fit for NFTs. So, and I love the story behind it and the stuff that Snowfro's done as well. So, for sure, are you in the same thing? Like,
Yeah,
I'd love to get.
I love Gen Art. I love photo as well, NFT photo. I love some one-to-ones, AI art as well. I was at the beginning of brain drops. I really like brain drops. Yeah, I like stuff that like I love people that innovate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, mate, like, why don't we talk a little bit about Focus Bloc? It's I sort of gather it's a vintage photography NFT platform, but why wouldn't you explain what Focus Bloc is and what was the inspiration behind it?
So we are two. My partner unfortunately couldn't make the interview, but we're two. We are both. We've been into photo since a very early age, being a big fan of I don't know, since very young, like Helmut Newton, Annie Leibovitz. I mean, I could talk about that for hours, but it was really, I thought that there could really be something we could do. I thought that NFT photo was way too niche, and there is so much potential for NFT photo to be much bigger than it is now. So yeah, I had a good friend in Paris. His father is one of the most famous French photographer, Jean-Claude Dutch. So back in February 22, he knew that I was into it. So he asked me if there could be potential to do a collection with his father's photos. Then we looked at it, very iconic stuff, photos of Schwarzenegger, Yves Saint Laurent, John Travolta. I mean, all the celebrities from his father worked from the 60s to early 2000s, being a paparazzi for the most famous and most popular French magazine. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Then he got back to us 2 weeks later saying, wait, actually, we won't be able to do anything because the copyrights are owned by the French magazine. So it's called Lagardère Media. It's the largest French media company, publicly listed. It's very big. And yeah, that's how it started. We started having meetings with the French media company. Started to create like this sort of trust relationship. And then, yeah, I started drafting contract, licensing agreement and distribution agreements, where took like 2 months, almost signed, got back to us. Oh, we have to go from British law to French law. So we had to start all over it again. So got different lawyers. French copyright law and British copyright law are very different. So we had to start the process from scratch. And then the market crashed a bit, in June of last year. So they sort of lost the infra. It wasn't their priority. But yeah, it was beginning of December when we finally signed. We had to go through this process. We had to create their first crypto wallet, which is a big deal, right? For such a big company to get a first feed into crypto and Web3. So we're quite proud of that. Then we launched the brand, started everything from zero, websites, Twitter account, everything organic. In a month and a half, we minted out. A month and a half later, we minted out quite quickly. It was a drop of 120 photos from the 60s to the late 90s of iconic celebrities such as, Jane Birkin, and then I go back to it, Serge Gainsbourg, which is the singer of my name, L'Amour, David Bowie, Julio Iglesias, Michael Jackson. You can have a look. It's really French new wave vibe, a bit kitsch, not too serious. Did very well, and we were like, oh yeah, wow, actually there is, people like it. It was mostly vaulted and minted by like punks or people that are like on super rare. So really like sort of like serious collectors, the people that just like vaulted them. And we're like, maybe, I'm sure there is much more we can do. So yeah, we did a couple of nice milestones. We won something called the Space Race on Super Rare, where the Super Rare is a DAO, and the community voted for us to have our own gallery on Super Rare. That's going to be featured starting from June. So it was quite a big milestone because there were maybe 50 contenders. So very happy about this. We've put together a board of advisors with some I think high profile people like Jake Fried, Michael. Yeah, he's on our board. You can check on the website. We have Michael Sidowski, who is probably one of the best seller in NFT photo, selling to mostly collected by Kosomo, Punk65, and the whale of NFT photo. His name is Alpha Trilogy. We have him advising us. He's become a very good friend. We have Louis Daisy, who probably the most talented French photographer. We have some more like media Web2 people. We have the founder of Whitewall, who's a good friend advising us. We have Jan Rogers, is the number 3 of Ledger. I'm sure you know him. He's a good friend as well. We've been surrounded by experienced people that love what we do, that love vintage photo. And so, yeah, and then in February, we secured a partnership with the largest and oldest cinema photo archives in the world, which is called Movie Star News. It's a fascinating story because those archives been around since 1930s. And they even had a store in Manhattan for the shutdown during COVID. But from 1933, I think, until 2020, they had the store in Manhattan. They were like the go-to place for movie stills and posters, and they even have like the original negatives of some movies from the 40s, the 30s. It's been fascinating to do the curation of this drop. We had access to hundreds of thousands of of photo, and we just trimmed it down to 333, trying to cover the history of cinema basically.
Man,
In Hollywood.
I'm looking through these photos. They are really, really cool. I mean, it just takes me back in a time machine of just growing up in the 80s.
Yeah.
I see Pavarotti, I see Sylvester Stallone, I see Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I'm a big fan of, and Sophie Marceau. I had a massive crush on her back in the day.
Me too, me too. I still have.
These are absolutely beautiful, man.
Where did you grow up? In Hong Kong?
I know I grew up in Australia, in Melbourne.
Okay, because you seem to know. Yeah. So that was the first drop that we did in January, and yeah, I'm glad you like the vibe.
So you've done 2 drops, have you?
So just one, the new drop is in 10 days.
Okay.
The one with the movie star. You can check
Okay,
on the
nice.
website, the new
Nice.
collection on the website. You'll see we have photos of The Godfather. We start with Charlie Chaplin movies, with Casablanca, Citizen Kane, Hitchcock movies, Stanley Kubrick. You can have a look.
You know what? Tony Herrera needs to get the Godfather piece for sure.
So we have a few of Godfather. We have Marlon Brando. We have Al Pacino. We have Robert Duval. We have some very cool and iconic stuff.
Man, okay, I'm gonna have to get into some of these. But so, like, can you help me understand something, right? So, like, as a collector, when you buy one of these, like, what do you actually get, right? Because, like, when you talk about rights,
Yeah. So everything we do, we are advised by Latam and Watkins. If you check on Google, you will find it. And we think, I mean, people have been pretty happy and we basically granting what we think is the highest standard of NFT photo. We grant exclusive one-to-one NFT licensing. So you basically, there will never ever be any other NFT. No one was gonna have the right to issue or to release or to mint the same photo. You basically have the one-to-one NFT right. You can display it anywhere you want, to trade it as much as you want. It's yours. However, you don't have any commercial right over it. Obviously, you cannot start a brand of t-shirt brand and of putting, like, let's say you mint a Clint Eastwood and then you won't be able to to sell a Clint Eastwood t-shirt with this photo.
and in terms of provenance, then, like, how do you look at that? Like, do you link the provenance back to the original photographer, or
So the first drop, the provenance really was the photographer himself and the French media. This time it really is a movie star news. People that know about photography, movie star news is very, very iconic. It's the oldest cinema photo archive that ever existed. They've been here for actually 90 years. The provenance really is movie star news because they started working. So it's a brother and a sister. They're named the Claw. they started doing just going on set with RKO Pictures, which was one of the largest cinema studio in Hollywood in the 30s, 40s, 50s. It was part of what we call the Big Five. Big Five, you had like RKO, Paramount, MGM, Universal, and the fifth one I forgot. But yeah, they were like doing mostly going on set to RKO studios and just collecting those, on set at the time. People, and even now, you would have photographers just for to help the director and to also have like it was a common practice to have photographers on set and during the scenes and they would sometimes just leave those photos. So the brother and the sister who founded Movie Star News would collect those photos for free. And after a few years, RKO realized they were actually, because they opened a store in Manhattan and they were selling those movie stills at quite a high price. So RKO started selling it rather than just giving it for free. And so they started doing business not just with RKO but with other studios. They were very, very, very also very popular and very, very famous in the history of photography because they created what we call the pin-up photography and the bondage photography. So you would have Betty Page, you would have Marilyn Monroe. We did a lot of naked stuff with them. We wrote an article about it, and we're going to have, starting from Monday, every day an article about what we do from the number one photo magazine named The Eye of the Photography. It's a French-American photo magazine. And so the history is incredible. In 1959, RKO declared bankruptcy. So they were just doing business with the other studios. And then they got older. In the 80s, the Clow brother and sister, they sold the Movie Star News business it changed hands multiple times until 2020. And now it's in the hands of our partners that are like based in their mix of private investors and private equity based in LA. So yeah.
Amazing. So how much like inventory do you think you've got with these guys or via this relationship? Do you think like there's endless
these guys
photos that you just haven't uncovered?
These guys, they have millions and millions of photos since the 20s. But we basically just, that's why the curation process took so long, because we just got the best, what we think is the best, and what we think is we got the highest resolution stuff. We got the most iconic, what we think is the most embedded in the pop culture, what we think is the most historically relevant to the history of cinema. So we're gonna do more stuff with them on Super Rare, maybe, but very, very small drops, where the winner of the auctions will also get the original negative, the 8x10. We're working with everybody. We work with we're securing supply with legendary photographers in New York, in Paris, in Milan. We work with media companies. We work with archives. So it's about like the curation process is very complicated. It's a lot of work, a lot.
Yeah. I see you have Chili, Brainy, and Mullet. And Mullet we've already had on PunkCast as well. So three really good punks on your curation board too.
Good friend, Brainy as well, and Chuli is incredible. All very good people, that really have that are really experienced in so many different fields. It's a pleasure to be advised by them.
Absolutely. And mate, tell us a little bit about Focus Bloc Pass. I just tried clicking on it, but it says like it's already been claimed or owned. But I guess what is that? How does that work? And
Yeah, so we wanted to, on the first drop, we wanted to reward the people that minted the first collection. This pass basically, as you know, we're gonna try to grow and gonna try to bring as much value as possible to this pass. But this pass for now is mostly guarantee you the whitelist and guarantee you 25% discount to every drop we're gonna do lifetime. So yeah.
so what's next for Focus Bloc? Like, where do you want to take that next?
Next for us is really next for us. There's so many opportunities. So we are doing this drop in 10 days with Movie Star News. It's gonna be big test for us, but I think we're pretty confident. But the next Super Rare, we're gonna grow our brand on Super Rare because we have our own gallery being curated there. So we're gonna do more stuff. We're securing a partnership for Sport Vintage with one of the largest sport media business in Europe. So vintage sport. We think it can work very well. We're gonna do different themes, really, but it's always gonna be about vintage photo. We're not gonna, just our niche is vintage photo, and we think there is a phenomenal potential to, especially given what's happening with AI and photo and image treatment, and I think it's very important to give some. To be fair, I don't want to sell too much, but we to have the right on a to give you an example, to have the right over a photo of Yves Saint Laurent or I don't know, Schwarzenegger or Marlon Brando, this is first, the supply is very, very limited, sometimes inaccessible. And to give you the example of Yves Saint Laurent, there is just two entities in the world that have right over his photos. It's Yves Saint Laurent Foundation, which is the brand, and the Succession, which is completely fragmented, and they will never talk to you. So we try to give, and the value we put on the table is giving rights, copyright, and IP over stuff that are almost inaccessible and are iconic and historically relevant, and also, it's about the vibe as well. It's about you travel back in time, and it's an emotion. It's rare. It's an emotion. It's iconic.
You know what? I think you've really hit this segment that suits the NFT crypto demographic. Yeah, it's that. I think most of it comes from sort of our vintage, right? Our age group. I don't know, sort of mid-30s, to sort of mid-40s, and we sort of grew up around this time. That's why the pixel art with Cryptopunks, the old school retro gaming, all of these sort of vibes just they're just very nostalgic emotions that sort of come from it, right? So yeah, I mean, like when I look at it, it definitely vibes with me.
So I'm glad you say that, because we and more than that, more than the nostalgic vibe, we also want to sort of educate people about something here. We try to be smart, we try to be cultural, because even though it's iconic, we really cover the most influential movies of the history of cinema. Each of these movies, they've changed the cinema in a way, like Psycho from Hitchcock, like some Stanley Kubrick movies, they changed some. We think it's incredible, because we look back in time, and that's why the curation process is so tricky, because you want to make sure what you put there is really bring something to the really the history of cinema.
Yeah. How are you thinking about supply then? Like, I mean, do you talk about that at the curation board? Like, how do you know, like, for example, 120 is the right number? I mean, you must have thousands to.
So we could have done 1,000, but we just started. We just want to scale very slow, make sure we have good foundations. Don't grow too fast. Don't try to grow too fast, and make sure everything is done in a slow but steady way. And that's why the drop, and everything we do is 1-to-1. So the new drop in 10 days is 333. So we're increasing the supply by almost 3 times. And we and also we're not a cheap project. It's not a free mint. It's this drop is going to be 0.4 ETH. ETH has been performing well, so we want to be always around the same range. It's not for everybody. It's for serious collectors, and we want to scale slowly. That's it. We don't want to. We don't. The market is here, but we want to also create the demand, create the hype, and so obviously, if we get to the point where but we're never going to be a mass market project. We like to give this feeling of exclusivity and niche and highly like curation.
That makes a lot of sense. And well, looking forward to your next drop, man. And no, that's super fascinating. What you're sort of working on, and I love the sort of first drop that you did. So I'll be looking forward to the next one. Maybe shifting the conversation back a little bit more onto CryptoPunks then. um, so when did you buy your first CryptoPunk, and what made you buy?
So it's a very interesting story. I was in the CryptoPunk Discord since 21, because I was friend with all those guys like Mulet, Bass, Brainy, and I was a friend of crypto. I was a friend of punks at the status, and Discord in 21 was very active. But I didn't have a punk at the time. I was trading a lot, different stuff. But it's only in I think it was May or June 22, May or June last year. Last year I jumped into a wild hair. I loved it. A very nice wild hair. And I also, so it's a funny story, because I got the Tiffany pendant I was one of the first 100 to get it from DPAC. I don't know if you remember. And then it was 30 ETH, and a couple of people listed it at like 55 ETH. And then DPAC just swiped at 55. So, I listed mine at 50, thinking like I would make like 20 ETH in one day. And then DPAC called me. It was like, man, I don't understand. You get to mint first, and then you try to flip. And I'm like, no, man, you just said that you would sweep everything. So for me, 20 ETH in one day, I'm not gonna say no. And and he's like, and the guy's like, okay, so just like send it back to me. And I'm like, okay. So he sent me like 30 ETH back, and I sent him back the pendant, the claim to the pendant. And then ETH went up to like, it was right before 2.0. Proof of stake wasn't it was yeah it was in the summer, and then I listed it for profit. ETH was going up like we went up to 2k. So I made like a good flip on this pack. I flipped it, and then back in December, I thought it was good timing to jump back into ETH and into Punk. So I swapped a lot of stable into ETH and really wanted a purple hair Punk, because all the big NFT photo people, they all have a purple hair Punk. When you do NFT photo, you need a purple hair, like Alejandro Cartagena, John Knopf. There's even DAPP, Straight Beats as well. I fell in love with this purple hair. For me, it was forever Punk. The white hair, I liked him, but not. I didn't find him so special. That's why I was okay. I'm gonna trade it if it's a good profit. But this one for me, I want to build my brand around him, and I think he's very special. He's very punk. He's very. I really like it. So yeah.
He's got the cigarette. It must be a French thing too.
I'm French and I smoke a lot, so I needed a cigarette. No, I'm not joking. Really.
I know. I think most of the French people I know all smoke. But I'm a Siggy fan, so I'm gonna add you into the. Are you in the Siggy smoking punk group?
Yeah. They added me with Barcella, and of course.
Yeah, awesome. No, it's a really cool punk, man. Like when you were looking through, I guess the traits, were you just looking for a purple hair? Like, or talk us through, I guess, the selection process here. Like when you went for 7294.
Yeah, I was really looking at a purple hair, and this one was listed for a while. It was listed at 90 something. It was like 2-3 weeks that it was listed. 2 weeks maybe it was listed, and people would send low offers. But I directly talked to the guy on Discord. I think he's like ultra punk or something, and I sent bid at like 80. Then he said no, it's too low. Then we settled at like, he said okay for 87. I said no, okay for 86.69. He was like, okay, let's do it.
For the culture.
The culture. So no, I really wanted a purple hair, but not any purple hair. It's not so easy to find a nice, like
a clean. Yeah, this one's a clean.
You get my point, right? Some purple hair doesn't. To have like a clean one with, first I needed a cigarette, then a purple hair. So it's a lot, to have one available when it is so low was I think it was. But I was looking at punks for like 2 months already. I was ready to pull the trigger.
DOPP Punk was going through exactly the same thing. So he he originally had a purple hair punk, and then he was out, and he was looking for a purple hair punk for the longest time. And he found the one with the VR glasses, which is another grail too. So he did really well on that.
Incredible punky girl.
Yeah. Oh man, that's such a nice punk story. 86.69. What a deal. And if you could, and if money wasn't an issue, like what would be your dream punk, do you think?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really, for me, purple hair is the coolest spread. It's okay. Purple hair aside, I really like the woman punk with the orange hair. You see the one.
Yes, yeah. That was actually quite rare, right? What is that? 68 in the whole collection.
Yeah. I think those
pretty cool.
That's very, very. You never see anyone wearing that.
That's true. I don't know anybody on Twitter or anybody rocking an orange hair actually.
No one. And as a collector, it's a woman punk is. I think when traditional art people are gonna get heavy into punk, they're gonna look more into women's punk. I'm pretty sure.
And for you, like, how do you see CryptoPunks? I mean, you're coming from a little bit of the art world as well. Do you see them as art or more of as a collectible?
No, for me, it's art, completely art. I mean, it's the beginning of a trend. It started a trend. It started, it's crypto native, and it's becoming it's becoming historically relevant. It's been around for 6 years now, starting to be in some museums. It really is and it started a trend. So it's no, it's art. It's pure art.
Agreed. And when you're looking across, I guess, all the collections in the NFT space at the moment, any NFT collections that you feel are undervalued or unloved?
I'm gonna give you an alpha. There is a drop from Art Blocks. It's an Art Block curated. It's called Calian. Calian. It's have a look. I've never seen that before. I get the same feeling when I got into Matt Cain Gazers at 05 is same feeling.
Okay. All right. I'll take a look at that. That's a alpha right there. And if you were to look back across your NFT career to date, what would be, I guess, your biggest wins or losses that's worth mentioning?
So my biggest win was Gazers at 05. Got a bunch. Pirenisto on brand drops. Cryptods and Crypto Dickbots. Obviously, I was very low. 8 bits. It was too much of a pump and dump, but I did well. Yeah.
Matt Gazer, yeah. I mean, that was such a beautiful drop as well. I love Matt. Yeah.
Incredible.
And who's your favorite punk personality, or personalities, if you've got more than one?
I really like Justin, the founder of Raindrops. Justin Tremble. He's wearing a VR ape punk with a hoodie. So he's a cool guy. He's a visionary. He likes AI like I do, and we share. Yeah, he's a smart guy, smart investor. Had like good understanding of macro and understand the trends before everybody, and very kind person as well. And yeah, really like this guy.
I never got into Brain Drops. What kind of art project is that? Is it an art project?
It's an AI art project where you have Pindar Van Orman, you have Claire Silver.
Yes. No, I have seen this.
Yeah. It's fascinating because they're really ahead of everybody. Because they really are like 6 months a year ahead of everything.
Yeah, crazy. And if you were to describe punk culture in a few words, how would you describe that?
So apart from what we said on the art part and how historically relevant it's going to become, the culture and the community is made of. I mean, you have to just check the fat punk thesis where it's made of people that like to build and innovate and really care about, are like mostly crypto native people that want to a better world and really innovation for me is the key word.
Absolutely. And how do you feel about V1 punks?
Man, I think it's it was just at the end of the day, Larva Lab just messed up a bit and then did it from a different contract and it's fine. I think it's relevant, but I think the narrative around it sometimes is a bit too much.
What about BTC punks?
No, it's a joke.
And what about the Yuga acquisition? How did you feel about that when you heard the news?
Yeah, the acquisition of you guys, basically the acquisition of the IP. So it doesn't mean it doesn't mean much. They acquired also a bunch of punks, I think 400 maybe, and they have the dry powder to like keep doing what punks is good at doing, and it's nothing, just the art. So it's not so much of a news, to be honest.
And if you could pass on a message to the next owner of your punk, 7294, what would you like to say to him?
He doesn't, he's not here yet because he is probably going to be my son. I'll tell him when he'll turn 13, not before.
A special message. Awesome. Lamore, this was a really fun conversation, man. And I love getting to know you and your story and what you're sort of building with Focus Bloc. So thank you for your time, man.
Thanks. I love PunkCast. I listen to them from time to time. I love what you do, and keep doing it. It's very good for always interesting profiles and always interesting to get to understand people's experience better and see the variety of and what people are building. It's really great. Thanks a lot.
Amazing. No, I appreciate the kind words, mate. And I guess any final comments from you, and how can people find you?
Find me on Twitter, Lanamour. And if you're in London or Paris, send me a DM. We'll go for a glass of red wine.
Perfect.
And the cigarettes, obviously.
Definitely the cigarette. Guys, that wraps up another episode of PunkCast for the week. Yeah, stay tuned for next week, and we'll interview another punk. Bye for now.